Doing good. I'll be okay, man. I'm one of those guys that you know, iOS 14. I say yes, track me, not a problem.
Dude, you too? I let it track.
Yeah.
I let it track.
I'm like the one. I'm part of the 1%, right? It's like go for it. Go
Honestly,
for it.
dude, I love that it tracks me and it sends me stuff I like.
That's so when's you gonna get into it? Like, yeah, only send me relevant stuff, please. Please. Don't
I love notebooks and it keeps on sending me notebooks. So
yeah, there you go. So gotta just gotta be what you're comfortable with, right? 100%.
all right, dude. Well, let's go. Thanks for being with us, everybody. We're live into Lab Coat Agents. Hope you had a great weekend. We're having a good Monday so far. I've got Gus with me from PowerISA, and today we're going to be talking about 55 appointments in 60 days with Lead Manager ISA. Gus, what the hell is that?
That there you go. It's a pretty good question. What is a lead manager ISA? So that is what we call, and it's a term that we use. It's in the industry. We use it within PowerISA to distinguish between the ISAs that do cold calling, right? The outbound prospecting ISA, which is from a few years ago, that's what people thought ISAs did. It was like outbound prospector, outbound telemarketer. That was a big part of the ISA role, and I've seen as the years have gone by, we've been doing this for a while now, right? Actually, cold calling for outbound prospecting is how we started PowerISA. We were 100% outbound prospecting company.
Oh, I didn't know that.
100%. That's what we did. So it's part of our DNA. It was 100% of what we did now. Now it's, I'd say maybe a quarter of what we do now. 25% of the team is dedicated to outbound cold calling, outbound prospecting. And now we're almost like 3/4, probably even sometimes more. It fluctuates. We're doing lead management, what we call lead manager,
is that
which
what you
focuses.
Do? Is that what you do for me? Is that what you do?
That's 100. That's actually a great. I can use that as an example. So when someone comes in and needs someone in that lead management role, Tristan, they've got a database. They don't need to generate these cold lists. They don't need to reach, because cold calling and cold prospecting is a numbers game. You got to talk to 50, 100 people to find someone that might give you enough, information to call a qualified lead. You have to have a bunch of conversations, dozens, if not hundreds of conversations, to find one person that'll give you a little bit of information. When you're talking about inbound lead management, database management, these people know, like, and trust you, right? They've heard of you, or at the very least, they came into one of your ads and are interested in talking to you, right? So you don't have to talk to 100 people to find someone that's interested in buying or selling in real estate. It's way less. The conversion rates are much, much, much higher for inbound and for database. So you just need someone to make the calls, follow up, nurture these leads. And we're talking about a system like this. You're talking about working in someone's CRM. You're talking about inside that system, and they're managing the CRM, or at least an aspect of it. That's exactly what we do for you, Tristan, right? You've got a huge database in the CRM, and it's not enough to just send them listings every now and then. It's not enough to have them on the alerts. It's not enough to just see what they're doing, within the CRM. You got to react to it. The CRM is a good indicator, right? One of the things, we love doing in CRMs is seeing who's the most active person that day, that week, right? Who's been active on the CRM, who's been looking at listings, who's been updating their information. Lopo does a great job at prompting people to do this, those different activities that say, hey, this person might need some help right now, right? If they're active within the CRM. But even if they're not active within your CRM, it can be your database. It can be your database, your met database, your unmet database, calling through it, adding some value, and getting people to raise their hand. That's what the lead manager does. That's the lead management role. They're already in your database. They're already there. Let's get the most out of them. That's what they do.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. So when you're talking about 55 appointments in 60 days, where is that coming from? Is it coming from like the whole of what they do, database, outreach, incoming leads, or is it just one specific thing?
This is so great question. This is coming from like a specific case study that we got about a month ago. This is from one of our clients, and this example that we're talking about, this is true, 100%. This happened for one of our clients. This was just from their database. This is just from their database, which means past clients, people that they know, sphere of influence. People that know people from events, from networking. This happened just with people that they've come into contact with, right? And this is a team out of Seattle. One of the hottest markets in the country. I mean, everywhere's hot, right? But one of the hottest markets in the country right now. So it was a huge win for them, right? So funny thing, Tristan. I did a poll, informal poll. Let's just call it a poll in LCA. This was a few weeks ago, and I asked people in the hottest of the hot markets, tell me where you got your last listing, right? Just tell me. I'm just put it out there. Drop a comment. Hundreds of comments. I think it was almost 1,000 comments in that thread, because this is an interesting topic. People want to comment on it. People want to know what people are commenting in that thread. It was, I think, 80% of people where they got their last listing was their database. Sphere of influence, past clients, people that they know, people in their CRM. Almost everyone commented that their last listing came from their database, right? Came from the database. So if you're looking at that, right? Because I did that, the intention was, I was curious about it, and I was thinking, is there any kind of pattern here? Is there anything is there any knowledge? Is there any wisdom out of all these comments? We're such a big group in LCA, right? Mm-hmm. Is there knowledge in all this data? And what that told me was, you got to work your database, because that is an unfair advantage that you have against the iBuyers, the flat fee listers, the FSBO temptation, all of these things. You have an unfair advantage with people that know, like, and trust you. And that's a key thing. And that's what this team in Seattle did. They said, okay, Gus, finally got someone to hit the phones. We're going to leave no lead left behind. Let's get everyone, let's call everyone. Let's see how they're doing. Let's see what's happening. Let's shake things up. It's a really hot market. Let's see who in our database needs some help. And that's what the ISA did. They did between 50 to 100 calls per day just for the database, and they generated almost an appointment per day. Just making sure that we're reaching out to people, reaching out again, making that first attempt, making that second attempt, texting people, making sure they try to reach every single person in that database multiple times. And these were some of those fruits. And I thought it was a really, really, really impressive project. And I want to talk about it in depth, with the group today.
Well, let's do it, dude. Let's talk about it. Tell me where to start. And would you recommend that agents do this with their team if they can't hire an ISA right now? Or
100%. I think whenever I talk about ISA, it's a role. I always tell folks, remember, ISA is a role. The way transaction manager is a role. The way admin is a role. The way buyer agent is a role, and listing agent is a role. If you don't have a team yet, and if you're in your career where you don't have a team yet, or you don't want to have a team, then you are the ISA. Yeah. The same way that you are the transaction manager, you're the admin, you're the runner, you're the listing manager, all these things. These are roles. On the larger teams with more folks, yeah, you can leverage that out to someone. Otherwise, it is you. So if you don't have an ISA in your team, just look at the activities, look at the goal, because anyone can do this. Anyone can do this. Again, if you're larger and you have the leverage, yeah, your ISA would do that for you. But if you don't have an ISA, you are the ISA.
Okay. All right, dude. So look, let's say I'm going to do this and I want to go all in. I want to get some appointments, right? 55 is a lot, right?
Yeah. You have to have a big database to get 55, to be honest with you. But if you only have 100 people in your database, met people. I want to just start with the definition, Tristan. I don't want to confuse folks, right? This is because this team spent $0 on internet leads to get these appointments. Absolutely zero. And I want to be just upfront and honest with that.
I love
this. Was just from pounding their phone, pounding their database. And the first thing is you have to have a database, right? That's like that's like step zero. Like, folks, if you haven't done this yet, you haven't gone through the exercise of doing this, it's never too late to try. Throughout my years in real estate, Tristan, I'm going to be honest, most agents don't really have a database. They've got their cell phone list. They've got their friends list on social media. Like, yeah, that's my database. That's not what I mean, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like a breakout Google Sheets and write people's names down, their emails and their phone numbers in a separate place and keep track of them that way. It's at a basic level. We're not even talking about CRMs. We're talking about make a list of people, every single person every single person, Tristan, that if you called them or texted them, they would know who you are. That's what I mean by that's the highest value database you can possibly have. And that is what this team did, right? They had a list, a formal list of every single person basically they've ever interacted with, and they've been in Seattle for a long time. They're not from Seattle, actually. But they've been in Seattle for a long time, have been in the business for a long time. So they have a sizable database. But they had built it. It was there, but they weren't, calling. And I'll get into that. But step one is making it. And I think that's where most people stop. That's when more people get stuck, right? And I'm telling you, really, start with 100 people. You should know. When I had a teammate of mine in Seattle, I was a realtor in Seattle for a long time. I had a teammate of mine in Seattle, buyer's agent, started out as my showing assistant. She was from Costa Rica, had been in the country, I think maybe 2 years when she joined my team. So when she got to the country, she barely spoke English. So she was way better in her English, by then. Young girl, learned really, really fast and was just good with people. And she had in her database almost 200 people in 2 years of new country, new city, new language, Tristan, right? So whenever I hear anyone that doesn't have a list of at least 200 people, and you didn't change countries, you didn't change language, right? It didn't start from scratch in the last 24 months. You should have more than 200 people in your database. That's my personal opinion, right?
All right.
You got to really stretch yourself out. You got to put everyone in there. Classmates, friends, family, their friends, anyone that that would be able to take that call or respond to that text and knowing who you are. So you got to stretch yourself in that sense, right? Go for it. If anyone out here starts making the database and it's not at least 200 people, you got to think about that Costa Rican girl in Seattle. Come on, really, really push yourself, right? Get those people in there, get them in that list. That's number one. Create the database. You can use your cell phone. You've got a contact list in there already. You can use social media, right? Social media is going to help you. Who do you have in your social media circle? Most people have more than 100 friends on social, right? Whether that's Instagram, on Facebook, on whatever it is. You're going to have those people there. Use that as a key and as a starting point. Use it as a starting point, and it will get better over time. You got to feed the database, right? Once you in real estate, once you figure out that this is a key part of your business, the game becomes adding more people to that database. That's it. And your success and the size of your business is going to be determined by the size and quality of your database. And then you can start talking about augmenting it with the internet leads, with the purchase leads, with the unmet leads. That's great. But I would tell folks, if you haven't figured out how to prospect and convert people that like and trust you, then you're going to have a challenge with these unmet leads. It's always harder, right? It's always harder. You still have to chase people in your database. They're not going to just go and work with you. You're going to make some calls, you got to set those appointments, you got to convert them. The difference is people from your database, when you meet with them, Tristan, should convert at 70, 80, 90% to a client. That's really the difference. And some of these internet leads, the reality is that maybe 25, 30, maybe up to 50% are going to convert into clients. That's okay. It takes more effort.
That's what we do with the guy, Carlos, you gave to us, right?
Yeah.
And we're hearing a little bit of the speaker, I think, maybe rubbing into.
Oh, and I get animated on this thing. So I'm always moving up and down. So I'm going to move that problem.
So yeah, Carlos does that for us. He works for you. Works for PowerISA. He calls our database, right? Because our team is massive. We have a database of over 100,000 people, just 71,000 in follow-up, boss. So it's insane.
Wow.
Of course we need a full-time person. But here's something that for those people that think they don't have a database or maybe having a challenge understanding this, there's a video that I just made. I popped it into the chat. And I say, look, if you don't have, and Gus, I think I got this from you. I don't even remember where I got this from, okay? But I think it was from you. There's an app called MC Backup Pro. And MC Backup Pro is for Android and for the iPhone. If you don't have an iPhone, throw your Android in the trash can and go buy an iPhone, Gus. I'm just messing with you, Gus. All right. MC Backup Pro, what it does is it allows you to take everybody on your phone and create an Excel sheet from it, like a CSV file. And then you can go through it. So everybody on here transfers into like this little sheet And you can say, oh, I know this person. Oh, I don't know this person. I know this person. And then you can be more purposeful with what Gus is saying, which is reaching out to those people that actually know you, right? And sometimes we never transition into this full CRM. Well, now's your opportunity, right? And get it. I can go through some other stuff that's in the video, but just click on the video, watch it. And then obviously, if you're in a position to be able to get somebody that's full-time, make sure that you look at what Gus has to offer, because that one person that we have from Gus, he helps out just 2 of my agents. He doesn't help out my whole team. Like I specifically said, hey, these are the people who follow up with their clients the most and have a big database. I'm just going to use them for these 2 agents. And so obviously we have other people that are in-house that are following up, because as soon as you start getting busy, what's going to happen? You're not going to be following up with your database, because you're opening up a new escrow, you're calling everybody involved in this one transaction, you're going to a listing presentation, you're showing property, you're worried about your marketing, you're handling the request for repairs, the negotiation. And where does following up with your database fall? It goes out the window. And then we have this roller coaster ride of a business. And that's what I hate. And that's why we said, you know what, this is like 10 years back, Gus. I'm like, you know what, I'm growing this database, but I'm not following up with it. And
100%.
that's when I plugged in that first person, and then we evolved from there. But when it comes to bringing in somebody like this, or if it falls on us at the beginning, Gus, where do we start? Like, what is it? What does that outreach look like? And how often should we be doing it?
Yeah, that's a great. So that's the game, Chris. I'm glad I got to go in there, because, step 1, like I said, is building a database. Even having one, you're going to set yourself apart. You're going to be more purposeful about your business. Like, have one, create one. Okay, you've created one. So now what do you do, right? So I think this depends a little bit on kind of where you are in your career. If you've never called these people before, right? They have no idea, they might, this is real, Tristan. They might not even know you're in real estate, or they might not even know that you would love for them to send you a referral. They might not know that. People think it's obvious. Like, I see this. Hey, I'm on social. I'm posting that I'm an agent. Why aren't they sending me the referrals? That's not how it works, folks. That's not how it works. You got to go out there. And I always tell, agents that ask me this, you got to put yourself out there and ask them for help building your business. That's what I would do, right? And as an agent, that's what I did. I had a list of 300 people that I would call 3 to 4 times every single year and ask them for help building my business and moving me to the next, the next stage of my business, right? So that is what I recommend folks to do, right? 100%. Make sure you're reaching out to them. Make sure you're reaching out somehow, some way, somewhere, because if you don't, you would be surprised how much you're not on the mind of everyone you know all the time, right? We're not. I mean, guys, there's a lot of stuff going on right now in the world, right? There's a lot of things people are concerned about. People, in the U.S., 1 out of every 7 adults is going to be involved in a real estate transaction every single year. Like just in general, right? You take it, there's 5 million sides, there's 100 million adults, and there's usually 2 to 4 parties in every transaction. Do the math, guys, do the math. 1 out of every 7 adults in the US is going to be part of a real estate transaction. So maybe it's not your sphere. Maybe it's not just your sphere, but people that they know, that they go to work with, that they go to church with, that they hang out with, that they play softball with. So Tristan, does that number blow your mind or not? 1 out of every 7 people.
Dude, I didn't know that. I actually just wrote it down.
Do the math. 5 million sides, about 100 million adults. Take and at least 2 to 4 parties in every transaction. Run those numbers down. 1 out of every 7 people is married to, related to, or part of a party that's doing a real estate transaction within the next 12 months. If you once you wrap your head around that number, it's just, how can I connect to as many people as possible? Because that number is insane, folks. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. Your sphere might only be, let's go extreme. You only have 100 people in your sphere. Right? So there's 16, what's the number work out to? 16 people. I'm just going to, fuzzy math, 60 people in that list. They're going to be party to a real estate transaction or close to someone, right? If you expand that number out, those 100 people in turn Maybe no, they know 50 people. Every single one of those 100 people, let's just go super conservative. They know 50 other people, right? Just like they're hermits. They only know 50 other people in their whole lives. So that's 5,000 people in your sphere plus extended sphere. You're talking about dozens and dozens and dozens of transactions that are going on. And that I'm not saying that they know you. I'm not saying that those are the ones you're going to get. I'm just saying that by calling 100 people, you get a shot at finding out who's doing what in the next 12 months. When you start kind of wrapping your head around that, I think your approach really, really, really needs to change, because prospecting your database should be a cornerstone of your business. Maybe it's not the only thing you do. That's great. That's awesome. It should be a big part of what you do, and it should be something that's in your schedule. It's something that's part of your business, because the numbers really, really work out. So make a database, and you've got to prospect it. What does that mean, right? What does that mean? So that's kind of, now I'm getting your question, Tristan. That's a little bit of a preamble, because I just really want to get people, because people can say, oh, database, yeah, I know I should call them. Guys, it's more than that. It is way more than that. Yes, your friend from high school didn't buy a house last year, is not buying a house this year. It doesn't matter, because they know another 100 people. And I know some of them are absolutely going to do something in real estate in the next year. That's what you're making the call for, right? You're asking them for help to build your business. Unbelievably important, unbelievably key, right? So what do you do then? What do you do there? So if you're starting out in your business, you can just start by introducing yourself and say, hey, hey, as an agent, hey, I know we've known each other for a long time. I made the switch over to real estate. Or if you've never called them before, hey, buddy, I'm just letting you know, man, I've been real estate, I've been doing this for the last couple of years, and I'm doing this or that for my business right now.
Dude, that's a good point. Here's one thing that I recommend. And I threw it up in that video too, if you guys want to scroll up to the link. But Gus, if it falls on you, the agent, like if we're in transition and we're like not fully ready to dive deep into hiring somebody from PowerISA, and let's say I'm just calling my past clients, and let's say I've only got about 20 of them or so, right?
Yeah.
What I would do is I would pop open Facebook or Instagram and find them there. Chances are, if they're your core sphere, like people that are your friends, family, those people, they're going to be on there. Some past clients you may have friended. I did, right? And so you can go on there, and Gus, let's say it's you, right? You and I'm just going to look you up just on my screen, just to see what pops up, because we're friends. Yeah. So let's say we're on there, and you have this article that you just popped up there. It says, this article went viral with realtor circles this week with a very clickable headline: 83% of respondents serve Zillow. All right, so it's a Zillow one, right? I went on, I'm looking, and I'm going to use that as an arsenal, right? Research to be able to reach out to you and connect with you deeper. So one of the things that I do is like, comment, message. I'm going to like it. I'm going to comment. And then instead of just messaging you through Facebook, I'm going to text you or call you and use that as part of the reason that I'm reaching out, right? It becomes more authentic because it's at the moment. Hey, Gus, I just read that article, man, that you posted up on Facebook. That was a really good article. Thanks for that. I really appreciate you highlighting that. That's it. Nothing about
period. End of story.
That's it. Now I'm top of mind. Now, 2 weeks later, when I reach out, it can be about real estate, right? It doesn't have to be right at the moment, because that's a big challenge we have. Because now, Gus, if I reach out to you and I'm like, hey, dude, great article, or hey, dude, I noticed it was your birthday, or I saw your daughter graduate, or I saw whatever. And then I say, by the way, do you know anybody that's wanting to buy? And I'm like, oh, you just lost me. It ain't gonna happen. Like, I know why you really called me now. I'm not stupid. And are the consumers not stupid either? Right?
Absolutely.
So that's how we do it. Blanca says, what if it's just me and a buyer's agent on my team, about 1,000 in the database? Is there a part-time ISA plan that fits and is affordable? Thank you.
And I think, we have part-time ISA plans 100%, and it just depends on the volume you want to do. For 1,000 people in the database, We have to work the numbers on that. Part-time might make sense, but even if it doesn't, right? Like I said before, incorporate this into your process, incorporate this into your business. This might make sense I think at the most it would be a part-time ISA kind of a project, max, right? At max. Because if you don't have like a ton of leads coming in, either through the internet or through your database, open houses, sign calls, it might not make sense to have a full-time ISA, work in a database that's less than 1,000 people. But it absolutely makes sense for them to work it, right? No doubt, 100%. And I love the approach you just made, Tristan, where I didn't want people to think that you only ever call your sphere 3 times, a year. That is not, that's the phone call aspect of it. But you got to be touching them way more often than that, right? Way more often than that. I love the Keller. This comes from Keller Williams, the 33 touch model, 33 touches within 12 months. And I like that model a lot. I never had exactly that plan, but mine was like 27, 28 touches within a year, within 12 months. And that was like 12 months of newsletter. It was liking, commenting, messaging on social. And it was those 3 to 4 phone calls. And I would invite people, and those 3 to 4 phone calls, in my case, I would always be inviting them to something or offering them something of value, right? And that is exactly what this team in Seattle did, kind of bringing this full circle, right? They didn't just call their database and said hi, right? It wasn't just that. They had something valuable to offer them. And I think that's super, super, super key. Because like you said, Tristan, you got to play the long game and reach out to your database, being top of mind, liking, commenting, without talking about real estate. I think is a great a long-term nurture activity, which is great. And you should be doing that every month, right? You should be making sure, like I said, 27, 28, 30 touches per year. Plan it out. Look at, write it down on a sheet of paper. What would that look like? Okay, well, 12 newsletters. Okay, Gus said 3 phone calls a year. Okay, 3 phone calls. That's 15. Okay, where do you get the rest? You got another dozen touches to figure out, right? And the more methodical you are about that, the more purposeful you are about that, the more powerful this whole thing becomes, right? The numbers can sound a little bit overwhelming, Tristan. It's actually, if you put a system behind it, it's actually not, right? And yes, your ISA can go ahead and execute that for you. But if you don't have an ISA, you are the ISA, and you got to find a way to figure this out. Having your past clients and your core sphere on social is a huge hack. I love that, right? Because every single day, you're going to spend time on social media anyway. That is a great way to stay top of mind for your sphere. One thing I love to do is I go live on Facebook, talking about my business, right? Talking about what's new, sending out articles. So all of those things help me stay top of mind with my sphere, right? That's a huge part of that works for me. Not everyone's going to be able to bust out the cell phone and go live like in the moment and talk about what's at the top of their head. But social media is a great way to do it.
I can totally see you doing that like that.
100%.
That's totally you.
It's showtime, baby. Let's do this. Yeah.
I, on the other hand, I'll be like second guessing it. I'm like, am I saying it right? I won't do it. That's just me. But look, you bring up a great point with Blanca. She's saying, is 1,000 enough? What I would start having you think as you're listening in and saying, okay, if 1,000 isn't enough, how do I go about using an ISA to grow my database, right? Now you're thinking just listed, just sold, for sale by owners, expireds, and maybe just go a little bit deeper and see how you can grow this. Because Blanca, if you're at 1,000 and let's say you say, my goal this year is to grow my database and quadruple that, how am I going to do that? How can I go about this doing it the fastest way if you're not going to be, let's say, buying online leads, right? And Facebook leads, depending on where you're at, they can be as little as $2, $1.50 a lead, right? So that's an option, right? If you do want to buy them. If you don't, and you do want to get PowerISA or someone to call, then probably just listed, just sold through a data provider like Redx is an option, right? And now all of a sudden, you can say, okay, got it. Part of the time is going to be nurturing my database. The other part is going to be growing my database through outreach. And you guys do that as well. I know because we had an ISA through you that was doing that originally, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, and it's a great activity. And you're right? if you don't have a huge database, then find a way to grow your database, right? Outbound prospecting is a solid way to grow that database. All the other activities you can do as well. You know, I wouldn't limit it to that. Anything you can do with interacting with other folks, whether that's door knocking, open houses. You can do open houses in California now, which is pretty cool. You know, all of those activities where you get in front of people and they're willing to give you their information because you're going to offer them something of value, and they're okay with you reaching out to them. That all of those folks can help you grow your database, right? All of those sources are unbelievably key. And you know, there's one thing I want to make sure people kind of don't forget and don't miss. You always want to approach your database with something of value, particularly when you're going to make that ask, Tristan. So for me, you know, whenever when I sat down, not every single time I would touch my database, but those 3 to 4 times a year, when I would sit down and make the ask, I would make the ask. It was like a religious thing for me. Like, I got to sit down. It's that time of the year again. Got to call my whole database and I got to ask them for help to build my business. That's how I did it, right? There was all those other touches and interactions and likes and comments throughout the year, and the newsletters and the holiday events, whatever. But it was always 3 to 4 times a year when I would sit down and call every single person. I would call them. I would actually pick up the phone and call them and ask them for help growing my business. And that call of all the, and you're talking to someone that would do cold calling, Tristan, I'd call expireds and that call in my database to grow my business was one of the hardest calls I had to make all year. That's just me, right? It was not easy for me to make that call, right? It's difficult to put the vulnerability you got to show. You got to put yourself out there. I need your help, you know, because I was thinking, what if they say no? So guys, I made hundreds, I think thousands of these calls. No one ever said, I don't want to help you guys for your business. So just FYI, that's a made up, like all the fear-based objections wasn't really based in reality. But the thing that made it easier for me, I'm not saying it's like super easy. It takes some work, takes some dedication. The thing that made it easier for me, well, number one, I would make 30 grand after I made those calls. That's a great motivator. But the other than that was that I always had something of value to offer my sphere. I always had something in my pocket that, hey, I got to make that call because I want to invite this person to my first time homebuyer seminar. I want to invite them to how to invest in real estate class. I want to invite them to my market update snapshot for the year. I want to invite them. And then once I had more budget and I had, some traction, I would invite them to drinks and hors d'oeuvres at the local restaurant. I would invite them to my Thanksgiving pie giveaway, right? I would invite them to my Memorial Day, Memorial Day is coming up, my Memorial Day, whatever, calendar giveaway, whatever it is, right? All of these things, it really, this is the point, this is the funny thing, Tristan. It really didn't matter what the item of value was. When I didn't have any budget, it was a class. It was, this was before Zoom was huge. I would have done classes on Zoom every week to my sphere and my database, right? Educating them, telling them about the market, storytelling about my business, and or my adventures in real estate. But I would do in-person classes, right? This is a while ago. I get people into a room and I talk to them about it. But out of 300 people, maybe 5-10 people would show up to any one of these events and classes. It didn't matter because it would give me the motivation and the item of value that I needed to call 300 people, right? And I would ask 300 people for their help. Whether they liked the item of value or not, they attended it, they used it. I did a pie giveaway. I ended up giving away, I think, 30, 40 pies that one time. It doesn't matter what you give away. The item of value doesn't really matter, right? Because it helps you make that call and it helps you make that ask. It just, for me, it was a way to kind of hacking my own mindset and saying, hey, this is a way easier call to make because I know what I'm giving these folks is something valuable.
Dude, that's a smart thing. It's one thing that falls in line to what I've always said is like, wherever you want to grow, business, family, self, all those things, this is business. Create opportunities to be able to grow in that, right? And now what you just did is you created an opportunity to now be able to reach out to your past clients, to your core sphere to make that happen, right? And most of the time we just sit back and we're like, well, how do I do this? And we don't think about creating these instances to be able to reach out to. Now your call's so much easier, man. Like Michael Mayer, who wrote 7 Levels of Communication, always says, the best part of the events is calling those people that didn't show up, right?
There you go.
And he goes, it's not even about the event really most of the time. Like people will show up, you'll connect, people will love it. That's awesome. But those people that didn't show up that you invited will feel like, oh, I didn't show up. I kind of let them down. And those are the ones you're going to get referrals from. So,
I love, I gotta be honest, I never did that, but holy cow, that's a good suggestion to me, right?
yeah.
You can, and that call can also be a ton of that. Hey, you know what? I wanted to send you the recording of that event. Hey, I wanted to send you the, a picture, whatever, hey, I know you couldn't make it, but I wanted to still give you something, right? I still want to offer something of value to you. And they're like, oh my goodness, Gus, thank you so much, right? Because again, these are people that, know, like, and trust you, right? So their reaction is always going to be something, something positive, right? Overwhelmingly positive, the overwhelming majority of cases. I love that, because when we did these events, we would always make sure that we called to confirm they were actually going. Then after the event, we called to thank them, right? So one call turned into 3 calls pretty quickly for a lot of the folks. The core sphere, the A's, right? The A, B. Yeah, even within your sphere, you're going to have A, B's, and C's. The A people would be a ton of opportunity to call them. So I think it's super, super important, Tristan. And one thing I want to give people in this webinar, right? I want to give them something special. I'm going to drop a couple of ideas of interesting items of value that you can create right now, right? Let's say you have nothing. Gus, I don't have a class I can teach. Gus, I don't have budget for like drinks and happy hour. That's fine, guys. That's fine. It doesn't matter. Because the team in Seattle that I'm talking about didn't do that either. They didn't have an event. They didn't have this awesome giveaway. They didn't have a class that they were going to teach. They just called everyone and told them about a brand new program they were starting, right? This is brilliant, Tristan. This is amazing. And I can't reveal exactly what they did because I'm not about that. I don't have permission to tell them. But if I were doing this myself right now, I would tell people about my brand new, amazing VIP buyer program, VIP seller program, 5-star buyer program, platinum seller program. Come up with an awesome name. This is the part you got to fill in the blank in. But for those folks, I would craft an offer that was unbelievably valuable and that I could give to them right away. And if I'm talking about buyers, I would craft and if you can do this in your area, I would craft an off-market property list, right? I would put my ISA to build one, or I would get on the phone and build one, calling those expireds, those FSBOs, doing circle prospecting. Create a list of off-market properties. This isn't that hard, guys. Make that list, create something of value. Craft a VIP buyer program. Google this. These things exist out there. Make it there, whether that includes, an insurance policy for your buyer. It includes, some kind of a gift card for your buyer. It includes a class. It includes a certification. Make something super valuable for those buyers to make sure you can call them and get them under contract. And the sellers as well, right? Which is, I think, something the Seattle team did unbelievably well. And it included stuff like helping them with the move, helping them, get their home ready, connecting them with their free consultations, with their trusted contractors. Guys, it is difficult to get good people to work for you in Seattle right now because the market is so hot, right? So craft an offer for them that makes their lives easier and makes their lives better. If they're in those situations where they're thinking of buying or they're thinking of selling, help them solve some of those problems. Make their lives more convenient, make their lives easier. If they're thinking of buying a market like this, people are really nervous about these bidding wars. People are concerned about navigating the market. Become a resource for them. Train them how to win those bidding wars. Train them how to put their best foot forward and give them the best chances of success. Put something together around that. If they're thinking of selling in this market, make that whole process easier, right? Make sure that, because there's a lot of things going on. They got to buy a home. They got to sell a home, maybe, right? Both of those things together make that easier for them. They got to, organize their home. They got to put everything in boxes. They got to move it. They're moving out of state. There's a lot of things that can happen. Position yourself as a solution to those problems and to everything that's going on, and call everyone up and tell them you've crafted these amazing offers, and call everyone to tell them the good news. Hey, because if you're ever doing anything in real estate in the next 6 to 12 months, I've got something unbelievably valuable for you and anyone you know. Who do you know that I should know that I can give this amazing value to? I think that's a great call.
Dude, I love that. I love it. All right. So let's talk about the ISA here as we wind down, just so I understand. If I hire one, because it's been a while since I hired one, so I don't know the process of hiring them, right? I've had
Yeah,
yours for
yeah.
3 years. So if I hire one from your company, well, do they come trained? Mine did. So I just want to know what's going on now. Do they come trained? What's the process of onboarding, and how soon can they hit the phones on calling up my database? What does that look like?
Yeah. So right now, what are the challenges that we have, Tristan, which is a great problem to have, right? We're about a month out from placing people. If you call me right now and you want to go, and then I'm just being, that's our number one issue, like placing in, like qualified, trained people. We do train the ISAs, right? Train people, quality people on these campaigns. So we tell folks it is going to be 3 to 4 weeks on average before we're going to have someone ready to go on your campaign. So you call us, and that's the time it takes to get someone ready to go. Typically, these folks have experience, maybe not in real estate, but in sales and retail, telemarketing. We always look for folks that have that experience, but they always go through our real estate training, right, to tell them how to position these calls, how to handle these objections, the most common and the most popular scripts. But when they join your team, and I want to be super honest and transparent with folks, they need to ramp up those first 30 days. Yes, they're not going to come in blank, right? Like a blank slate. They have no idea what they're doing, but they've got to learn your process, and they have to learn your team and how you do business as well. So in those 3 to 4 weeks before we launch, we're also training you as a client on what to expect and how to get those things ready. Our onboarding team is helping you prepare SOPs, standard operating procedures, right? So your ISA can hit the ground running, right? So they're not starting on day one. So where's my dialer? Where's my CRM? We don't want to have that happen. So our onboarding team is preparing you to get everything ready for your ISA to hit the ground running. But that's the amount of time it takes. For people that want to accelerate that, so if you're looking to hire like one ISA or a part-time ISA, then yeah, you got to wait a month. There's probably no other way around that. If you want to find a way to hire an ISA and build an ISA team, then we have a new offering for that, right? Or build your ISA course. We actually teach you everything you need to know to hire, train, manage, and really get the most out of an ISA on your own. You don't have to wait for PowerISA to have someone available. You're not kind of restricted by that. We teach you how to go out in the wild and hire a great, awesome virtual ISA and build your own ISA team. You need to have the time to do that. Yes, if you don't want to have a PowerISA do it for you, you got to invest the time and effort to do it. But we will coach you and teach you everything that we know about how to hire great people and build awesome ISA teams. So that's an option as well for the folks that are looking beyond just one ISA and are thinking of scaling up and building a team.
All right, dude, that makes sense, because a lot of people like me have a ton of ISAs that could then take advantage of this. This
100%.
I love this, dude. All right, man. So look, we've got a couple of minutes left. Anything you want to touch on that we may have missed that you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, the number one thing you got to take away from this is pick up the phone and make the call. I want to just keep it unbelievably simple, right? Don't overthink it. Don't go crazy. Do not procrastinate about it. It's very easy to put it aside, put it away. Remember, LCA spoke. 80% of these listings are coming from their sphere, right? Imagine if you effectively prospected your own database. You're going to get more business, right? It's one of those things, Tristan, if you actually do the activity, the fruits are going to come in really, really quickly, because it is the highest converting source. The people that already know, like, and trust you.
I agree, man. I agree. All right. We put up the link to PowerISA, to the ISA training program as well in the chat. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me on Facebook and Instagram in the group. You can text me, and Gus. It's easy to get a hold of Gus too. I mean, I tag him in the group, and he's always on there as well. So there it is, powerisa.com/LCA. Sorry. I was thinking of LSA from Google. Local service ads. My brain is going there. All right. So thanks so much, everybody. Gus, thanks for being on, buddy. I appreciate you.
Thank you, man.